The Chiefs' domination over the AFC West continues as they clinch their 8th straight AFC West division title after Harrison Butker outscored the Bengals 19-17 on Sunday afternoon in front of me and my family, Haley and her dad, Taylor Swift, and about 74,000 other people. We've got 10 things you need to know following this game.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Thanks to everybody who's hanging out with us live on YouTube, and appreciate those listening to the audio version of this podcast after the fact. I'm BJ Kissel. That's Hayley Lewis.
Hello, hello.
And we've got 10 things to share following the Chiefs win over the Bengals. And please let us know in the comments. We'll bring your questions, your comments, your thoughts on the game or the show or anything that we're talking about. We'll bring those up, try to make this an interactive show. Tucker Franklin is out on a little mini vacation right now. So it's just Hayley and I producing this thing and hosting at the same time. But luckily, we've got a win. We've got some stuff positive to talk about. But please let us know again how you're feeling about the game, the playoff berth, what lies ahead for this team. Before you get into that, Haley, how was your New Year's?
My New Year's was good. I got to go to the game with my dad. That was so much fun, getting to watch history be made. Growing up in a football family, watching him coach, going through, just watching my brother play and all that stuff, and just being able to have like that family moment. 2023 was a good year. So yeah. I'm glad the Chiefs capped it off with a win. I'm sure some people here are maybe struggling this morning, but
yeah, I thought you were going to be struggling, to be honest.
I thought I was too, but I was
live vicariously through you young people and going out and having fun.
I decided to be mature, so that I could show up prepared for this podcast, BJ. I'm an adult.
Yeah, I say that, and I feel bad almost saying it because I wouldn't change anything about where I was or what I was doing on New Year's. We went to the game. We got back. The timing, we actually timed it perfectly. I've never been this person, so please, if you want to shame me, I deserve it. But we left with about 3 minutes to go in the game.
Oh, we left a little earlier, too.
And to get to the parking lot. And I'm like dragging my son through like the thing. Like my wife's got our daughter, and we're like getting to the parking lot. We got to get, because we parked in the far corner up by the practice facility. And it's like, once we get to the car, we're out in like 50 yards. Yeah. Like, we got to get out of there. But you could hear the game ending. I'm like, we got to go.
Quickly now.
There's like a 5-minute window where you're either out of there or you're going to sit there for about 40 minutes if you get stuck. But we got back. We ended up, I went to the store right when we got home, bought a bunch of just stuff that the kids wanted, bought a cookie cake that said Happy New Year just because. But we ended up playing video games. My son for Christmas got new like Nintendo Switch controller, so whole family's playing Minecraft and Super Smash Bros and all these games. And daughter tried to stay up as late as we let him stay up as late as they want. Daughter made it till about 10:30, and then she's like, "Daddy, I want to go to sleep." So I went up with her, put her to bed. I fell asleep, and then I woke up to hearing my son scream. I looked at my phone, it said 12:01. So my son made it to midnight, and he was hanging out. But that was our exciting New Year's. But made much better by the Chiefs taking care of business over the Bengals. And like we said, we got 10 things for you. Before we start with number one, we do want to thank Mission Taco Joint for being the sponsor of this show and sponsoring the KCSN Foundation with our Feed It Forward program. Mission Taco Joint now has 3 locations in Kansas City, with South Plaza. Crossroads is the one that I think probably most people know. In the Crossroads location that we were just there a couple weeks ago. And then the new one out in Leawood in Park Place. It's right across from Bamboo Pennies, right there by the ice skating rink, kind of my Dick's Sporting Goods, the AMC movie theater right there over in Town Center. So go check them out. And if you go on a Tuesday and you mention KCSN, you'll get 10% off your order. And please check out the Any Given Holiday drink. It's made with the Ben Holiday bourbon over there at Mission Taco or any of their locations in Kansas City. And proceeds from each drink that are purchased will go to support Braden's Hope and their desire to raise more money and just help out, kids with pediatric cancer. And the phenomenal organization. We did the event with them a couple weeks ago. That was really, really fun. But thank you to Mission Taco Joint. Go eat some tacos to start off the new year.
There you go. Start it off right.
Let's get this started. These are 10 just things to know, facts, opinions, all kinds of stuff. Some of it's from Twitter. Some of it's from Pro Football Focus. Some of it's from the Chiefs Communications Department and the game notes that they sent out. But number one, AFC West domination. Haley, you want to take this one?
Yep. AFC West domination with the 25-17 victory over the Bengals. The Chiefs have now claimed their 8th consecutive AFC West title, extending the record for the longest consecutive streak of division titles in the history of the AFC West. It also marks the second longest streak of division titles in the NFL history, dating back to 1970, breaking a tie with the Los Angeles Rams. Oh, there we go. Who won the NFC West 7 consecutive times in 1973 through 1979. You kind of forget. I love how it's when teams move around, you kind of forget what teams they used to be, or cities they used to be with.
Yep.
Anyways, the Chiefs only trail the Patriots' NFL record of 11 consecutive division championships from 2009 to 2019. I wonder why. The Chiefs have now qualified for the playoffs in 9 consecutive seasons. That's huge. Thank you. Shout out Coach Reid. Time for the second longest streak of consecutive playoff appearances in NFL history. Their mark now only trails, of course, New England's 11 straight playoff appearances from that good old time that Tom Brady was at the helm there. That's you can't go without recognizing, as crappy as we have been talking about how things have been going, without recognizing the absolute domination since Andy Reid took over, and now since Patrick Mahomes has been a starter. It's been great.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. We talked about this on the show. Like, you don't want to tell fans how to fan, and everybody does it differently.
That's a good way to say it.
The emotional roller coaster of being a fan or fanatic. Everybody kind of does it differently, but I don't think as a fan base we should get, and I'm caught up, I'm as guilty as anybody, so entitled that division championships don't mean anything. And that there was a time that, winning the division seemed so far away, back when I started covering the team, back when they weren't very good, back during the Scott Pioli, Todd Haley era. And back then you were just hoping for December games that mattered. Like, to just give us a chance to get into the playoffs and the wild card, and maybe sneak a division if you get hot at the end of the season. But I think in the most part, I think fans know it. And I think it's the crazy thing about expectations. I think I've been saying that for about 3 weeks now, that when the expectations are higher, you feel disappointed when they're not dominating every single week.
That we have high expectations now in Kansas City, but I get your point.
But yeah, not glossing over an 8th straight division title, and that when you started putting in context of the fan bases that we've been so annoyed because they had such consistent success, like the New England Patriots, and there's more stats coming up here on this regarding, most consecutive postseason appearances. I mean, the Chiefs at 9. I mean, it was 9 consecutive playoff losses. When we're talking about history and streaks in the playoffs, I love hearing these things because for the longest time, all I could talk about, or all I remembered from being a fan, was just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, and a consecutive, an NFL record for most consecutive playoff losses. And here we are looking at most consecutive postseason appearances for 2015 to 2023, rivaling Indianapolis's heyday with Peyton Manning, going into the end of the Andrew Luck era. Dallas from 1975 to 1983 also went to 9 straight postseason, and had 9 straight postseason appearances. And then we just said the New England Patriots, 11 consecutive postseason appearances from 2009 to 2019. So I think it's good for us to be able to step back, especially after a win like that against that opponent with the Bengals and all the stuff that is brought up facing them each week, which I'm sure we'll get into later in the show.
How'd you feel about the Chiefs? The fact that I think even we tweeted this out on social today, eliminated the Bengals 2 years in a row. I mean, that feels good. Like, the little evil girl inside of me is just...
Yeah. If you had to chalk it up this season, or any season really, like, which team would you want to beat to go to the playoffs? I would say at this point, a lot of Chiefs fans would probably say the Bengals if they got a chance to choose. Now, to be fair, like, that's a Joe Burrow-less Bengals. It's not the same Bengals team.
Higgins was removed early, and banged up Jamar Chase.
Yeah, something. We'll get into that. And let's talk about the playoff picture. There's more coming to the Jamar Chase social stuff, him and L'Jarius Sneed. We'll get to that. We'll do that right after this next point, because it all kind of blends together, talking about going to the playoffs. That the playoff picture is pretty much set as far as the Chiefs go. Now, we don't know who the opponent's going to be, but the Chiefs are the 3 seed. They are locked in. There's nothing that can happen next week that is going to change the fact that the Chiefs are the number 3 seed. Now, number 1 seed obviously is Baltimore. The 2 seed is either going to be Buffalo or Miami. That depends on what happens with their game. But there are 5 different teams that the Chiefs could play in the wild card round at this point. There are 5 different teams that still have a chance or could fall into the 6th seed. And I'm going to bring up a graphic, do the best I can to explain it for the people listening to the audio. But we're going to bring up this graphic that has, the NFL tweeted this out, and it's got all of the different playoff scenarios for what could happen. Yeah, it's a lot. And you can see on the far left side of this graphic, it's got all the 5 AFC games that are taking place next week, who would win those games and what that would mean for the seeding going off to the far right. So every scenario says that if Buffalo wins and they beat Miami, the Chiefs will be playing the Miami Dolphins. So that is the one simple scenario that if Buffalo wins, the Chiefs will be facing the Dolphins, regardless of what happens with Jacksonville, Tennessee, Houston, and Indy, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, or Denver and Vegas. Now, if Miami wins, that's when it gets interesting. The Chiefs could end up playing the Texans, the Colts, the Steelers, or the Bills. Again, a lot of different scenarios playing out. I'm not going to explain all of them in an audio podcast because I'm not sure that's going to make sense. If you go to our social media or if you go to the NFL communications, they've tweeted this out. It's the AFC playoff seeding scenarios. But the most simple one to know is if Buffalo wins, the Chiefs will be playing Miami. Buffalo will actually get the 2 seed and jump all the way up with the season they've had. That would be a crazy ride. And then for the Dolphins, I just saw that Bradley Chubb has a torn ACL from their last game. So that's not great for them. But again, 5 different opponents the Chiefs could end up playing in the wild card round. I don't know how I'd feel about playing Miami that early. Granted, it's a different Miami team. They just lost arguably their best defensive player, one of their best defensive players. But more so curious to see how the Chiefs handle next week's game, because they're locked in. It doesn't affect anything.
Do you think that they will sit the starters? Do you think we'll see Blaine Gabbert? Do you think this is like they play half the game? And I mean, because it doesn't matter. And this is something I was actually talking about this morning. I wonder how that will all pan out. It's always a Coach Reid thing.
Yep. Mahomes said it. So here's what Patrick Mahomes said in his post-game press conference regarding the Week 18 game not really having any effect and whether it's better to rest or start. He said, I didn't know that, but I just kind of let head coach Andy Reid make all of those decisions, and then I roll with it. If he wants us to get out there and kind of bid off this momentum that we have, I'll be ready to go. And if he wants to give some rest, then I'll get that rest, prepare for whoever we're going to play, and be ready to go in the playoffs. I want and I believe that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense need to play. I think
to like build confidence and get things
going.
I
think after yesterday's game, I think some things started to click. There was a lot of reports about them simplifying the offense and all that. How much of that's real and how much of it we're hearing weeks after that had kind of already started. We don't know. I don't like to make a huge deal about those types of things. But between Rashee Rice getting going, Pacheco getting going, I would like to see the offense get out there and play. And Patrick Mahomes obviously needs to be a part of that. But at the same time, absolutely do not play him. Do not get him hurt going to the playoffs. So I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. I would lean towards having the offensive guys play and maybe resting some of the key guys on defense, or at least mixing it up a little bit more, doing some vanilla stuff on defense. They're not going to try a lot of different things. That being said, there's only so many guys on the roster. You can't rest everyone. There's literally no one else left to play. And so not putting them in a position to hurt themselves. But again, we're talking about a player who's going to go out there and compete, and he doesn't really know the throttle down, not go 100 miles an hour all the time.
I'm curious to see how it works out. You even wrote this incentive down here. You know, Kelsey has 16 yards shy of hitting another 1,000 yards.
He needs to get his 1,000 yards. That part, like put him in, get him an 18-yard catch, get him out of there.
I feel like he's pretty good about that in years past or seasons past. But yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest thing that everyone's looking out for. Coach Reid talks here. I mean, he probably just wrapped up his press conference. So we'll maybe have a few of those quotes coming out on Twitter to figure out what he said. But you know as well as I know, he's not going to give anything. And what he usually gives is sometimes a lot different. Like he'll tell us in the preseason, these people are going to play this many series, and it completely is always different. But I do agree with you on the fact that I think it's wise that the Chiefs offense takes this as another opportunity to build momentum before they go into the postseason. Do I ever want to see, Patrick get hurt in the final regular season finale? No, but I do think where they are now and the type of team that they are now, you saw how scared he was on the field, almost, I don't want to say scared, but just timid to don't throw an interception, and all these things from the national media. You hear Dante Hall even saying it, just take, the simple plays. So I think that this would be a great opportunity for them to kind of roll into the postseason with a little more momentum than they have now.
Yeah, I'm not even sure at the simple stuff. They've been checking down. Yesterday was the first time that they threw the ball down the field. It felt like on some of the
we saw like
pitch and goes with
long
Reid.
shots.
Yeah, they went 2 of 3 on passes beyond 20 yards, and we've talked about that on this show all season long, and that they hadn't taken a lot of shots. Before we get,
I guess I should have said the first half, but yeah,
you're a superstar.
I'm a superstar.
Yeah, we got a comment.
Thanks, but I will say, my name is spelled differently.
I wasn't going to say
but
that.
I appreciate that.
Up.
Thank you.
It's Hay. It's right behind, right over there. Appreciate your support, the kingdom.
That's very
and
sweet.
Anybody else in the comment section. And Cole saying Travis needs to 16 yards, another 1,000-yard season. That is correct. It would be his 8th straight 1,000-yard season. No tight end in NFL history had more than 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Didn't know that. Wow.
I talked about that before because I think it was during the show that I did solo here, because I remember the year he went and got his 3rd straight 1,000-yard season. I remember telling him in the locker room, like, hey, you've just done something that's never been done in NFL history. And he's like, that's cool, BJ, but I don't really care. Yeah. And now I'm sitting here with absolutely no say in anything, being like, get him in the field, get his 16 yards,
put him in the
get
game.
his 8th straight 1,000-yard season. But yeah, I'd be curious to see how they handle it. I would be surprised if they rested everyone.
I would too.
I'd lean towards them playing and maybe a watered down version. I think it's a great opportunity to get some things figured out on the offensive side. If it's dumbing things down, try some plays, try some looks, and we're guessing at this point.
Yeah.
When I say this, and the Chiefs receivers, like, they all learn every spot. They learn the X, the Z, they move guys around. Maybe it's a chance to put somebody out in a different position and see what they can handle, what they can't. Give them some situations in which they've got to read something and try to use it as like a practice almost to get the offense going, or to get some things that they can use in the playoffs and get any kind of an advantage. But let's move on to number 3. We'll find out more throughout the week. We know Andy Reid is so forthcoming on their game plans and what they're going to do. Maybe now, because there's literally nothing that's going to change with the situation, that he'll say, like, hey, this is what we're doing. They're facing an opponent that season is over. They fired everybody already with the Chargers. So maybe this is set up to be a scenario in which maybe they'll let us know. But history tells us that's probably not going to happen. But now, team win for the Chiefs would be a pretty fun, simple one. Chiefs have now scored in 180 consecutive games, marking a new record for the longest streak of games with points scored in franchise history. And after quarterback Patrick Mahomes completed 21 passes on Sunday, the Chiefs now have 406 completions on the season, the 4th most in a season in franchise history. I enjoy looking at the most consecutive game scoring. It spans, obviously, 11 years for that to happen. The second longest streak was 179 games, which they just broke the tie with. That was between 1963 and 1976. Wow. But I do enjoy looking at the most passes completed in a season in the Chiefs record book. It's literally number 5, 2018, number 4, 2023. Number 3, 2020, number 2, 2022, and number 1, 2021. Wow. It's basically Patrick Mahomes' season as a starter outside of 2019. That's the top 5. And that's probably 6th if we had more information.
He also only had 21 to 29 yesterday.
They didn't have the ball.
No. Time
you
of
were
possession.
there.
Hold on, let me tell you time of possession.
Even in the first half, the time of possession.
Time of possession was like I want to say, and I'm throwing this out here, that they only had the ball for like 8 minutes in the first half at all.
Yeah. No, at one point it was like
ended
4 minutes.
25.
The first drive went a little bit, and they went 3 and out real quick on the second drive, and the Bengals had all of them. That I just remember looking up at the total yards and thinking the Chiefs' offense hasn't been bad at all, but the total yardage completely out of whack because of time of possession and just amount of sack. There were 3 or 4 key plays there that the Bengals made on 3rd down. And we talk about Joe Burrow not playing. Give some credit to Jake Browning.
Oh,
he made some really impressive. He made some really impressive plays, even on 3rd down. He made some nice throws, extended a handful of plays, and then a couple of penalties, extended drives for the Bengals as well. But
I was impressed how they came out to start. The Chiefs defense made adjustments as needed, but that first opening drive, I was, I think they were even caught off guard as well.
Yeah.
The Bengals had a really good game plan to start. It's just the Chiefs defense is a little better.
And King Jamie, the Mad. Great show.
Ooh.
Thanks. Go Chefs. We appreciate your
I
support.
love the chefs.
And Terry Custer saying MVS needs to perform for the money he's being paid. My hope is a miracle comes through for him going forward.
Why don't you tell him your opinion on MVS, BJ?
I was pretty early on it. I'm not saying I was first, but I was pretty early on the.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk, and this was weeks ago. Like there was a lot of talk about the wide receivers, and a lot of it at that time was Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. And I'm like, why are we not talking about MVS? He's the one who's paid. He's the one who's been around longer than anyone else in that room. And
Two drops yesterday too.
And one of them was horrible. And I didn't see it, but I saw a post. I think it was Nick Wright afterwards tweeted something about how he kind of showed up Mahomes.
Was it which one are you talking about? The deep ball or are you talking about the short?
I'm assuming he's talking about the short one that hit him in the chest that was a little behind him.
Okay.
And he kind of
I haven't
seemingly
watched
made
it back, but
some gesture. I don't know what it was. Maybe somebody in the comment section can tell us, but made some sort of motion to kind of show up Mahomes is what Nick Wright had tweeted out.
Oh, that's spicy.
And yeah, I don't know if that's a great plan. I would be absolutely shocked if MVS was back. So at this point, might as well just support him or not talk about him because he's going to get targeted at some point. He could play 60 plays and get targeted twice, which is a horrible ratio on that. But that being said, we saw it last year in the playoffs, had over 100 yards, had a big game. If the Chiefs are going to win a few games in the playoffs, whether it's Kadarius Toney, whether it's MVS, guys that we've been MFing all season, they're going to have to step up and make a play, and we all want them to make that play. And there's no good in patting ourselves on the back for prognosticating a negative thing.
Yeah.
I've said that for a long time. That's never a good situation to be in as a content creator or somebody to say, I don't think that guy's very good on a team you want to win. And then when he's not good, be happy about it.
Yeah.
But this is a great segue because speaking of being happy about it, let's bring up and talk about the interaction post game with Jamar Chase and then L'Jarius Sneed and then Chris Jones' reaction. Because of all of what you're about to hear, I've seen a lot of comments on social media about this, about if I was a Bengals fan, hearing players laughing in the locker room after being eliminated from the playoffs on a team that you cannot get along with or have been talking trash with all week. They do this every year. They've done it at least the last couple of years. They talk a lot. And here, again, are those clips from the post-game pressers yesterday.
I don't know what he was doing. I just be under people's skin sometime, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So MF won't fight me, so it's all right.
Mark, can you take us through your perspective on what happened that led to the pushing and the flags?
Just trash talking. Can't handle it.
How do you play?
Chill, bro.
Who instigated the trash talk? Do you remember?
Nah, I started off. The whole defense was mad at me. You know what I'm saying? He started at the beginning of the game. You seen it. I mean, everybody's seen it. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I like to do.
Any words you have for him on the field or
we had some words. You know, I went up to him after the game, told him good game. But, you know, check the stats.
They counted us out, told us we were done for. Another AFC West championship in the books. To be continued. And Jamar Chase, try again.
It's such a perfect response because Chris Jones is so good at this. We saw in the playoff or the Super Bowl game when he was like, God bless you. Like they're talking.
He's so good at the little petty, backhanded, I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
Kind of comments.
And again, going back, and even one of the reporters, I don't know who it was in the background. It was one of the Bengals beat reporters. You could hear her laughing when he said he wouldn't fight me. I was just like, that rubbed me the wrong way too. I'm like, you just lost a big game against a team you hate that you talk trash about all week. You lose, get punked on the field, goes up against L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed was covering Jamar Chase, and he was targeted twice, had 0 receptions with 1 pass breakup on a beautiful pass breakup along the sideline. And then to laugh with your teammate, I don't know if that was T. Higgins, I don't know who it was in the background. Just a bad look following not backing up all the trash talk that you had to say.
I will say that, let me preface this with saying, I'm in Kansas City trying to do a podcast on Monday. You're making millions on the field. I understand my place in saying this, but that just seems classless.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you have clout. I understand you have developed yourself as a player and whatever. But at some point, the trash talking just becomes, you just really obviously don't care about your reputation, your character. And I guess that locker room doesn't care about character. I mean, that's fine. Like, that's the way you want to conduct it. That's not how I see Joe Burrow, but but the way in which he's speaking. I don't think Joe Burrow's. I think Joe Burrow's is still a good guy. We'll get into. I'm opening old wounds.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that route.
Okay, but what I'm just going to say is that's classless.
You've got Jamar Chase is. I don't want to say he's bigger than the Bengals, but he's so good that he can say whatever he wants. They're not going to cut him. They're not going to trade him.
I mean, yeah.
They're stuck in there.
I get what you're saying.
They're going to let T. Higgins walk.
Don't you feel stupid though? You know
I
what
think
mean?
they're so confident in knowing that he's one of the 5 best receivers in football.
I get
It
that.
just feels like, you know what, I'm gonna double down. It's the same thing that MVS has done when he's been called out and questioned. Not that he's as good.
He is not. Yeah, I was about to say.
MVS has been questioned about his play, and PJ Green did it a few weeks ago, and MVS like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't know, the fact that you can't catch a football, and now he's showing up the quarterback reportedly. A couple comments here I want to get to. Why is Andy Reid giving MVS so many reps and giving Richie James and Justin Ross so few snaps? The simplest answer is I don't think those guys know the offense as well as MVS does, which is saying something at this point. He's getting snaps because he's the best option to be out on the field. I don't think there's any other scenario that's not the case, but that just tells you they have to see something in practice for these guys to want to get out and play above MVS. And for all the stuff we talk about with MVS, and I will give him some credit, he's really good at blocking down the field. He has not quit. He's still playing hard in that way. He just can't catch a football or read a coverage, apparently, on when to get open and all the plays that have been broken down regarding kind of stemming, like splitting coverage between the seam, and he's running towards the safety and Mahomes throws it behind him, like those kinds of things. But another comment here I want to react to. Ballooned Raccoon say, NFL, I think that's what I say. NFL is crazy. We worshipped MVS for saving the AFC Championship. Now we want him out of the building.
I get it.
That's kind of a what have you done for me lately league. Every player is always one good game away from redemption, and so is MVS. He goes out in the playoffs and goes off for 120 yards and makes a couple of miraculous catches, which has kind of been his thing. He can make the tough catch. He doesn't make the one where you hit him in the chest. But yeah, a lot of people are going to forget about it, and he's going to be worth the $8.5 million that he's getting paid if he goes out and makes a play in the playoffs. Although at this point, I think his legacy in Kansas City is
this is where we are now.
Kind of set. He can change that with a couple of big games and some important moments. But the trust in him getting the football, and I don't know about you, but sitting in our section every time they threw him the football, there were people screaming, "Get him off the field!" Like it was awful. So it's beyond just some of us. It's spread throughout the kingdom.
It is interesting they have not benched him though. Like I to your point.
Yeah.
If
there's no consequence to bad play,
right.
What's going to motivate somebody to get better and to do all the things? So we'll see what happens. I strongly believe MVS will be playing a lot next week, regardless of what happens with everybody else. Get him on the field.
Get him his reps.
Get him his reps and get some value out of him. Get him something. So, I don't know. Just somebody's got to get out there. Get him out there. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to number 4. Again, appreciate everybody for hanging out with us live. Let us know in the comment section how you're feeling about the game and the playoff matchup scenarios, stuff that we've been discussing. Number 4, sack party.
Sack party.
You want to take this one?
McDonald's. Sacks. What's the thing?
The Big Macs for sacks.
Big Mac sacks.
My son was so excited. He looks at me. He's like,
it happened pretty
Big Macs
early
or
on.
buy one, get one. You know, crazy. I've never had a Big Mac in my life.
Really?
I've never ordered one. And my son, who's never had one either, not sure he's going to like it because of the dressing, was like, "Dad, we have to go get him, like Big Macs for sacks." And at one point, on a complete side note, at one point in the game, my son looked over at my wife and Megan, and he goes, "You know that 80% of NFL players choose Sleep Number?" Like, he just remembers all these commercials. It's like marketing works.
Influence? Like, he's being influenced.
Yeah, it works.
Let's talk about that sack party.
Yeah.
The defense also went to work against the Bengals. They had 6 sacks by 5 different players for a total of 38 yards for loss. PFF had the Chiefs at 31 pressures against the Bengals, led by Chris Jones with 7. George Karlaftis was 6. He looked good yesterday. The Chiefs has registered 6 or more sacks 64 times in franchise history since 2013. BJ, what happened in 2013?
We had a lot of sacks.
Yeah, and Andy Reid came to the Chiefs.
Andy Reid did come to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs now have 15 games with 6 or more sacks, going 14-1 in those contests. The defense has now totaled 54 sacks on the season, time for the 3rd most sacks in single season history for the Chiefs. the Chiefs have 13 different players with at least 1 sack this season. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't think it surprised anybody with as much pressure as Steve Spagnuolo sends from anywhere and everywhere that, your defensive linemen are always going to get sacks, half sacks. They're always going to be up there. Even your linebackers,
But your
they're going to get in there and
safeties,
get somebody, but your safeties, your nickels, your cornerbacks, they're all interchangeable. They can all move them around. Not surprised to see that. I am surprised. I was surprised last year when I saw that they had the second most sacks in franchise history, that they really are getting after. I think a lot of it, and a lot of people use this word in a negative connotation, that they're manufactured sacks and that it takes bringing pressure from extra guys and not just lining up with your front four and getting after it.
Okay.
But I think it's just about making the opposing quarterback uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, I think that's just part of his nature, and Spags has been one of the best at it.
It was fun to watch, and back-to-back sacks by Justin Reid.
Yep.
That was after he was a part of that little scrum or whatever you want to call it, them getting chirpy on the field. With Chase down there, having him be able to do that back-to-back in the fourth quarter, just really killed the drive, solidified that the Chiefs were going to come away with the win.
Yeah, he is sneaky. I've seen some people be critical of him. I sneakily think he's been one of the solid guys that you can just count on.
Yeah. And he's very smart. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he is a leader. And from an outsider's perspective, appears to be a leader in that room and somebody that I am not worried about when we talk about the defense and all the different things.
I agree.
Justin Reid is not one of those guys that you seemingly have to worry about. Next guy, my guy. You talk to the crew at 101 The Fox and all the pregame stuff I do with them. They have known I've been on the George Karlaftis train since I was calling for him to break Derek Thomas's rookie sack record last year, and he got within striking distance, but didn't quite get there. He had a strong end of the season. But George Karlaftis joined forces with Charles Omenihu for a sack of Bengals quarterback Jake Browning in the fourth quarter, setting up a 4th and 24 situation and a Bengals punt from the Cincinnati 11-yard line. Karlaftis added a 6-yard sack of Browning on the Bengals' final drive of the game. With the 1.5 sacks in the game, Karlaftis recorded his third multi-sack game. He now has a team-leading 10.5 sacks this season and 16.5 career sacks. His 16.5 career sacks through his first 2 seasons give him the third most sacks through a player's first 2 seasons in franchise history. The only 2 players that have had more sacks in their first 2 years in Chiefs franchise history are Derek Thomas, who his second year went off. He had 30 in his first 2 years, so we're not getting there. And then Jared Allen in this 2004-2005, he had 20 sacks in his first 2 seasons, and it would take 4 sacks against the Chargers next week for Karlaftis to pass Jared Allen. But more recently, for a lot of the younger fans that are following a lot of it now, especially watching on YouTube and listening to podcasts, George Karlaftis already has more sacks than Tamba Ali and Justin Houston did in their first 2 seasons, if you want to give context to how good George Karlaftis has been getting after opposing quarterbacks. Another guy's been pretty good at getting after opposing quarterbacks too.
He was quite effective yesterday. He helped seal the victory here. He had a total of 9.5 sacks this season so far. That would be 74.5 for his career.
Chris Jones is going to play next week because he made that comment during his press conference. He's got a sack. He's got a 10 sack incentive, which I'm sure it's like $1 million or something. Sure. Where he was asked about like buying gifts for the guys, and he's like, once I get 10 sacks, I'll buy the guys something. But I don't get that Patrick Mahomes money yet.
I love that. He also had 1 solo tackle for loss with 2 quarterback hits to go with the sack. There was actually one point during the game where I saw that Chris Jones was holding back Charles Omenihu, who was getting in on like the chippiness, and to watch. Charles Omenihu is a huge, and he was coming off the edge, and he looked phenomenal yesterday. Yeah. But watching Chris Jones yeet this man, like you forget how big Chris Jones is. Yeah. He was like throwing him back, and like, no, we're not doing that right now. And I'm just like, gosh, he's just giant.
I wish he was mic'd up because I would love to hear that. I remember thinking the whole time, like, Chris is probably saying something about just like, God will bless them, like just something like
the way
just
he trash talks.
He was talking to Ronnie Stanley years ago. It was back in like 2015. And I remember I was on the side. No, it was the sideline. No, so it would have been the year they beat Miami or won the Super Bowl in Miami. It was the last year I was there. I remember I could hear him telling the ref because Ronnie Stanley was complaining about something, and Mr. Chris said, "Don't reward his ignorance." Like, just that was not at all what I expected to hear, and it wasn't even yelling. It was just like, "Don't reward that ignorant. Don't listen to that guy." Tershawn Wharton, late in the first half.
Great too.
Turk took down Jake Browning for a 1-yard sack. Now got 2 sacks this season, tying a single season career high, which he also had 2 sacks in 2020 and 2021. He has 7 career sacks in the end of the day with 2 tackles, including 1 for loss, 2 quarterback hits to go along with that.
Think if he hadn't have torn his ACL. He was trending so good.
Yes, he was. He's one of those guys that going into next year, coming back, it's always like that first year from the ACL, I do okay, and maybe make that jump next year. But Charles Menahu also helped take down Jake Browning in the fourth quarter en route to the 25-17 victory. Menahu teamed up with Karlaftis for the sack and a loss of 7 yards. It set up a 4th and 27, which the Bengals punted back to the Chiefs. Menahu was effective throughout the day with 5 tackles, including a tackle for loss, quarterback hit, and a pass defensed, which came in a big moment where he got those long arms out there to deflect, which was a screen, I believe, going to Jamar Chase at that time. But Charles Menahu now has 5 consecutive games with at least a half a sack. In his first year as a member of the Chiefs, he now has a single season career high of 6 sacks, and he has 17 and a half for his career. I do know, looking at the PFF numbers earlier, that Chris Jones led the Chiefs with 7 quarterback pressures, according to PFF, and then George Karlaftis had 6, and then Mike Dana had 5, and I believe Menahu had 5 as well. Mike Dana, those guys
who's been great.
don't talk enough about. Well, we're going to keep this moving, roll right into number 5 right now, and it's another 10-win season for Andy Reid. Taking down the Bengals 25-17. The Chiefs hold a 10-5 record, marking the 18th 10-win season for Andy Reid in his NFL head coaching career. His 18 10-win seasons rank 3rd in NFL history, trailing only Bill Belichick and Don Shula, who are tied for the most 10-win seasons with 20. This season marks his 9th consecutive season with at least 10 wins, breaking a tie with George Seifert for the second most consecutive 10-win seasons in NFL history. He only trails New England head coach Bill Belichick's NFL record of 17 consecutive 10-win seasons. That one is absolutely bonkers, but crazy to think. We talked about sustained success, that Andy Reid is 2 10 wins shy of tying Bill Belichick and Don Shula for the most in NFL history. I expect him to stay in Kansas City for at least the next 2 years. And he's going, we've already said it, he's in top 4 in wins for a head coach. But this guy is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and we are getting a chance to be the benefactors of Clark Hunt flying to Philly that day and bringing him here.
We are blessed ever since January 7th, 2013.
And selfishly, both you and I are blessed to be a part of it and cover this team and be around, and all that's because of Andy Reid.
Victory Mondays are much better, aren't they, PJ?
They are. So much better. My favorite tradition after when the Chiefs won the division is Matt McMullen's tweet of like all of his hats. Yeah. Because then it like visualizes AFC West champs, AFC West champs, AFC West champs.
They put them all on Reid. I mean, it was a graphic, but they stacked them all on Reid's head, and you see all the hats go all the way up, and you're just like, I mean.
I did think it was pretty cool too. I saw the note, and we didn't have it in here, but since the history of the AFC West, the most, like all 4 teams had 15 AFC West championships. Like we were all tied with the same, and now the Chiefs just got their 16th overall AFC West championship to have the most of any team. So bragging rights definitely on the Chiefs side in that regard. And let's take a little break. Okay. We've done 39 minutes in. Again, we appreciate everybody for hanging out live. We'll continue to bring on your questions and comments as the show goes on. But yeah, we'll be right back after this quick-ish break that's going to take about 15 seconds. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to 10 Things. I'm BJ Kissel, hanging out with Hayley Lewis.
Not 15 seconds.
Well, on the audio side, it's going to be all of the Blue Wire ads. So it's going to be a couple minutes on the audio. So appreciate everybody for hanging with us through the ads, helping us pay some bills. That's how this all works.
Feel free to donate to Community America Hayley Lewis.
There you go.
Checkings, please.
Yes. Or you should get an Emprise Bank account because we're an Emprise Bank network.
Didn't know that. My bad. Emprise
okay.
Bank.
Yes, we love all the folks over there at Emprise. Yeah, there you go.
For the visuals.
Mission Taco. If you different story. Want to know how to support us and support KCSN, a very small company that is trying to grow in this space. Marketing, sponsoring, and the shows that the companies that sponsor us, you go support the businesses that are supporting us, you're supporting us in turn. And we try to work with great people and great businesses, and that's what we've done so far. Really happy about all the partners and everything that we got going on. But yeah, please swing by Mission Taco and tell them.
That's good.
It is good. And get that in a given holiday because that's very good. And you're helping great people and great organization with Braden's Hope. All right, let's move on to number 6, the Patrick Mahomes section of this show. He eclipses 4,000 yards on the season.
Yeah. 245 passing yards, 21 completions on 29 attempts, 1 touchdown pass. Mahomes has now accumulated 4,183 passing yards on the season. It marks his 6th consecutive season with 4,000-plus passing yards. That ties Tom Brady, heard of him. Peyton Manning, heard of him as well. His 1 touchdown pass gives him 219 career passing touchdowns, trailing only Dan Marino with 220 for the most touchdown passes in a player's first 7 seasons in the NFL. It marked his 52nd career game with 100-plus passer rating, the most franchise history. That's the most in franchise history and the second most in the NFL since he was drafted in 2017. I summarized a little of that, but the overall gist is Mahomes is a baddie. And even though he has what we want to say in quotes is a bad down year, he's still able to do what he's done in the first 7 seasons as a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, it's
pretty cool.
Special. I'm looking through the comments here. Bring some of them on. We've moved on from some of these points, but we can bring some of these up here in a second. I was just thinking the whole time you were talking how many passing yards he'd have if MVS could catch, or Kadarius Toney.
Salty. No, it's
Seth Kaiser might do like somebody that's got like that really gets into it. Somebody will do it in Chiefs game. There's enough people that cover the Chiefs. Somebody should go back and look at all of
there's
the
enough
drops.
people with time.
Yeah, there's enough people out there that were like I was 20 years ago before kids that can go back and really spend time looking this stuff up, but figure out how many guess and be conservative with it. But like if they caught this ball, or at least regression to the mean of like it. Don't make it no drop, like just right in the middle of the NFL and drops. How many of those have been dropped? Go back to like the MVS play against the Packers. Like,
where would we be?
That's a good chunk of yards. Like how many more passing yards would Patrick Mahomes have if people weren't dropping passes for him? So, hey, a lot of comments for you. A lot of big fans.
That's nice.
Matt Reeves. Thomas Lester saying 10-6 record, BJ. I probably said something incorrect. Saw something in here about a beef between Charles Omenihu and Willie Gay on the sideline.
Wait, really?
I didn't see that.
I didn't either.
I don't have any idea about that. And then Angry Junk German says, and the cherry on top is the cap hell that both Denver and LA will be in next year. It only gets worse for them. Yeah, it's going to take Denver a while to get out from the Russell Wilson situation, especially with all the mess that's coming out now.
That has just been
the NFLPA getting involved with all of it. Like,
I think they have to, though.
I've never heard a lot of positive things about the people that have covered Sean Payton and the way that he is in treating people. He's obviously been a very successful coach. I'm sure there's people that are in his circle that would absolutely do anything for him. That's kind of the way it is. One of my favorite phrases is "depends who you ask." Like,
that's a good way of saying it.
There's a handful of people that you ask about anybody, and they're going to give you completely different opinions. We're all in that boat, I'm sure, but. Angry Junk German also saying all we need from supporting cast is to catch the football and not turn it over. The bar is set very low.
Thank you.
And then Stephen C saying Chiefs were 0-5 against the Bengals in the month of December until yesterday. So maybe that's
that
why
stat.
Jamar Chase was
chirpy.
He thought history was going to repeat itself. And
I think he thinks he's cute. You know what I mean? Like I think he thinks like, this is fun.
I think that
I'm going back. I'm regressing. Don't let me do it.
I just look at it from Bengals fans' point of view. If it was a Chiefs player that did that, I'd be pissed.
It's just not a good look. But there wouldn't be a Chiefs player that does that because that's not the locker room that they have. Reid and Mahomes would not allow it.
That's
outside
true.
Looking in. That's just not what I see.
That's true. There are things that players say, and MBS did it a few weeks ago, that annoy fans and the way that they come across. But that is not a team-ish type thing.
Yeah.
And again, for as much crap as I've talked and everyone has talked about MVS. You watch a lot of those long runs from Isaiah Pacheco. Even yesterday, saw it again. MVS is blocking down the field on a lot of those, and a lot of people complaining about. I'm going off on a different thing.
Good for something.
But connecting like the George Pickens, and the Chiefs should have George Pickens. George Pickens would not play in this system if he's publicly saying he's unwilling to block.
Yeah.
Because somebody might roll up behind him. In that regard, MVS is still playing hard and doing a lot of things that are benefiting the Chiefs, just not the main thing.
Yeah.
That
Catching
he's
the ball.
supposed to catching the football.
You know someone who does catch the ball?
Who's that?
And who also runs the ball? And who also is very much so loved by the fan base? Should I go on?
He wants my son the next jersey.
Oh,
That's what he
I
wants.
love that.
This guy.
Good old Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah, he definitely got the offense rolling yesterday. So I'll roll into this. Number 7, he recorded a single game career high of 130 rushing yards on 18 carries, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. That is nice. With a long run of 37 yards, he added a team high 7 receptions for 35 yards, including 8-yard touchdown reception to cap off the team's first drive of the game, going up 7-3 in the first quarter. Pacheco now has 1,765 career rushing yards. That's nice.
He was the spark early in the game for the Chiefs offense. He's the one that got him going. He's so much fun to watch. I don't know if there's ever been anyone that's run the football like him, where he picks his knees up, he's like pounds them into the ground. There's no comparison for the style and the way that he runs. It's just very unique.
When he had that touchdown, wasn't it just like he went like right in the flat and then just shot right up? It was like an angle route or something.
The one that he caught?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a little Texas route, I think.
I just like the way in which he makes plays look. I'm not finding my words correctly. I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to just jump on the train of like, it's fun to watch him, but he just brings the pageantry back to football.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of saying that? That's still not the perfect way of saying it. I'm trying to get to a point of basically...
It's like throwback old school, like he runs through tackles, he runs so and plays so hard.
Yes, you're getting there. You're saying it better than I am.
It's just, it's a throwback, and it's the
fun
era of football that has led the NFL to being what it is. The physicality, the stuff that they're trying to get away from in some ways. I mean, they used to have segments called Jacked Up, like NFL Network, showing these hits that are now getting guys suspended and fined. And all, like,
really?
Yeah.
That was
it's called
thing?
He Got Jacked Up. That was the drop.
That's funny.
On it. And not to say that we shouldn't take care of the players and all. I understand all of that.
That's
but
really funny.
the way that he runs and the physicality, it just stands out. It's like the angry runs that Kyle Brandt does on his deal. That you could put a Pacheco run on there every single time. He did it again, just fighting through tackles. He doesn't make anything easy. And it has to, and I'm making an assumption here, but there's no way that if you're a teammate of his, watching the way that he runs, that it won't get your juices flowing a little bit and fire you up a little bit. To see the way that he runs, that adrenaline kicks in when you see a guy going out and fighting to make it a 2nd and 3 instead of a 2nd and 6, because he's refusing to go down and be tackled by 2 guys. He needs the 3rd guy to come over.
Yeah.
It's a breath of fresh air to watch.
Just a fun guy to watch. And he does, he's a fun interview too. And good day. Another fun guy.
All right, let's get to a couple comments here. Steven Jackson is the closest comparison to how Pacheco runs. That was from Thomas Lester. Steven Jackson was a large human being. But I get that the knees coming up, all of that, and I'm not going to tend to watch a ton of Steven Jackson. Just when I think of Steven Jackson, I think of a bigger kind of dude. In the way that he run, but that's not bad. Sebastian J, what are your thoughts on the O-line? Talk about it a little bit. I did think I liked looking at it. Let me double check just to make sure that I don't say this incorrectly. But the highest graded Chiefs offensive player, highest graded Chiefs offensive player, according to Pro Football Focus yesterday, was Jawan Taylor. Highest of everyone. 0 penalties. I know. Gave up 1 quarterback pressure, I saw.
Shooketh.
But Jawan Taylor being the highest graded offensive lineman, pretty impressive. Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson are not slouches. We can say whatever we want about guys being banged up on the Bengals, Joe Burrow, the receivers being banged up a little bit, but their defensive ends have been kind of their catalysts for their team, especially Hendrickson. And Juwan Taylor getting it done.
I'll take it.
All
After the last week, I'll take it.
Yep. Paul DeSantis, Marion Barber. There's a name. That could be a good one too, from those Dallas days. So pretty impressive. Again, Pacheco getting them going. All right, somebody else who gets them going. And it's been amazing. I don't think even the most optimistic fans who were SMU fans who knew and loved Rashee Rice and the opportunity he had in Kansas City expected the kind of season that we've seen from him. But he caught 5 passes for a single game career high of 127 yards in yesterday's 25-17 victory over the Bengals. That included a career-long 67-yard reception late in the third quarter, which I missed because my son had to go to the bathroom for the 4th time. So we heard it, and we were all cheering in the bathroom trying to figure out what happened. But Rice's 25.4 yards per catch average in Sunday's game is a new single game career high for Rice as well. And it marked his 3rd straight game as the team's leading receiver. And even more fun, to your point about Pacheco and Rashee Rice, 2 guys that are going to be focal points of the Chiefs offense for the foreseeable future. Both of those guys going over 100 yards marks the first time the Chiefs teammates reached the century mark in the same game this season, and the first time since November 20th of last season, when it was Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce. So a little surprised that this is the first time all year that they've had a 100-yard rusher and 100-yard receiver.
Also, they got past that 22-point barrier, and all this came together.
I thought they were going to, when he got the last field goal, I was kind of like, damn it. Because I spent all week saying 22 is the magic number. If you get 22, you're good. And they got to 22, and I was like, oh my God, you're right. And then he hit the last one, and I was like,
don't know if
Butker.
you watch back any of the broadcasts, but someone who also made that same point was Tony Romo. So great minds think alike.
He said 22 points is the magic number.
He brought up getting that many points on the board. He didn't say it was the magic number, but he brought that up. It was in the 4th quarter. I'll have to go back and find the clip. But he basically brought up the fact that, like, if they could just get over that hump.
Yeah. Listen, there's a connection.
There you go.
With one of the people on that crew.
It's happening.
I'm going to call Ryan and ask him if he's feeding our stats and information to this guy. No, that's great. Love CPI. That whole crew is awesome. We had a chance to work with them, be around Tracy Wolfson, all of them.
She's great.
They're awesome. All right, let's go to number 9. We've got just a couple left. Again, we appreciate everybody for hanging out. Please hit the like and subscribe as we get into the new year. Hope you all had a great New Year's, and hope you get the new year started off right. And for the Chiefs, started off just like they have every other year for the last 8 straight years, and that is clinching the AFC West division. All right, Bolton leads the tackling charge.
Nick Bolton led the defensive effort, whatever, same thing, in tackles for the 2nd straight game with 13 total tackles, 9 of which were solo. That's great. Bolton added a quarterback hit and a pass defense to his performance to help lead the Chiefs to their 25-17 victory. He now has 60 total sacks this season with 38 solo takedowns, despite missing 8 games this season due to injury.
That's good.
I also, did you notice that they were playing Tranquil and Bolton at the same time in a few of those, and I love that.
Yeah, the Chiefs' defense is better when Nick Bolton is on the field.
Absolutely.
Nick Bolton is one of the most polarizing players to discuss in Chiefs Kingdom because he played at Mizzou. He's such a good tackler and physicality, all of those things. But he doesn't move great in space, and he gets targeted a lot in the passing game. So a lot of the short passes, the things out to the flat, those are his responsibility. They go for longer than they would for some other linebackers who are in there that couldn't do nearly even close to as well as what Nick Bolton does well. And so that's a really tricky thing for people to talk about. Again, Chiefs defense is best. He is a Pro Bowl, all-pro type player for what he does really well. But he was the most targeted player on the Chiefs. In the passing game, might be similar for linebackers in general. I haven't studied about how all of that is, but Nick Bolton, Chiefs need him. They need him to be healthy, to be at their absolute best. And yesterday was a good example. A couple of really big runs where you saw Joe Mixon kind of like press to the C gap to the outside and then bounce it out when the safety come up. That there were a couple of those that there was plenty of space for runs, and Nick Bolton just read it perfectly. Kind of hid behind the first layer of the defense and then slid out as soon as Mixon tried to bounce it outside. Noticed that a few times that. Those could have been much bigger plays than they were, and that was because Nick Bolton did a good job.
He's been phenomenal. And Willie Gay also was good, I felt like, yesterday.
Yeah, Willie Gay's a tough one because he can make 2 or 3 plays that are on a highlight reel. He had the big 4th down stop, which I thought was one of the biggest plays of the game. Now he came up the middle and no one blocked him. So I would expect any NFL linebacker to make that play. Sometimes when you want to credit people for phenomenal plays, if you go unblocked and you go and make a tackle, it's still great. It's a great play design. I think that's more on Spags and the play design than it is on the player. Still has to go do it. I'm not trying to be a hater on it.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
If you get off
but
like
it was a shift
3
in momentum
blocks
and
it's a third effort, and then it's like, holy cow, look at that. But Willie Gay made a huge play, but Willie Gay's also made enough mistakes during the season that he's another one of those polarizing players in a contract year. Going to be a free agent. Interesting to see what happens with him. But let's move on to somebody that needs to stay in Kansas City for his entire career, and that is Harrison Butker. As he was perfect in Sunday's game, converting career high 6 field goals and 1 PAT for a single game career high of 19 points. He outscored the Bengals 19-17. But he also bested his previous career high of 18 points, which came against the Houston Texans back in 2017. His 6 field goals made tied for the second most made field goals in a single game in franchise history, trailing only a 7 field goal performance from kicker Cairo Santos.
Heard of him.
He just got a new contract with the Bears, with Ryan Poles up in Chicago. Yeah, he's the most accurate kicker in Bears history.
They can reconnect.
Retweet it. Cairo's awesome. His 6 field goal attempts tied a single game career high. He also had 6 against Miami back in 2017, and he converted a 54-yard field goal in the game. He has now made 28 career field goals of 50-plus yards, breaking a tie with Greg Zuerlein for the 4th most made field goals of 50-plus yards in the NFL since he entered the league in 2017. He now owns 31 made field goals for the season, tying Cairo Santos, which happened back in 2016, for the 4th most field goals made in a season in franchise history. For Butker, it's great to see all the stats and all the numbers. I think Harrison Butker's numbers could also be skewed because the offense was so good in scoring touchdowns that he wasn't kicking as many field goals as he would have.
Sure.
But at the same time, the offense also moved the ball and probably had more opportunities to score points. All that said, Harrison Butker has made some phenomenally huge pressure kicks in his career, and he is one player that you really just don't have to worry about when it's up to him. He is the dude.
Couple flukes here and there, they happen. He fought through injury last year. That was tough. Came back, able to figure things out. I think the fact that I know a lot of people were kind of getting upset, maybe online, and you can weigh in on this, about the fact that the Chiefs weren't maybe being as aggressive as they wanted them to and settled for 3 instead of going for 6. But when you have a kicker like Harrison Butker, where you always know you will get 3, in a game like yesterday, in a position in which they were in, why not rely on your guy like this? I would always lean on him. He has time and again done so well for them. And then the only person in the entire league better than him right now is the Ravens kicker. So
he's a Hall of Famer. I think there's only a couple, maybe 3 kickers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I think. Something like that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Justin Tucker will be in the Hall of Fame, but Harrison Butker is not that old, and he's on all-time type lists.
How old is he?
He's the 2nd most accurate or 3rd most accurate kicker.
What's your guess on his age? I think he's 26.
No, he's older than that.
Is he?
I'd say he's
28.
Yeah, I was gonna say 29.
That's still young.
28, he's got 5-6 years left in his prime, and as long as he's the kicker for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, he's gonna have opportunities to put points on the board. Talk about how many Hall of Famers are on this Chiefs team right now, Pro Football Hall of Famers. He may make a case for being the 4th one because you got Andy Reid.
It's cool to say that.
We're not prepared for this segment, but you have Andy Reid, and you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Travis Kelce, and those guys are all first ballot Hall of Famers. I don't think there's any denying any of that. And Harrison Butker may be next on that list.
Yeah. I don't think that's bad logic. He's that good.
James Winchester, he's phenomenal.
He's been solid.
Love James. All right, we're going to hang around for just about 2 more minutes, answer any questions that are coming from the comments section. See the conversation has picked up down there. Again, we all appreciate you for hanging out and spending part of your days with us.
I hope you guys have today off. My boss made me come in and do a podcast.
Yeah, I see comments. I see comments about Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a very, very good player. When we talk about first ballot Hall of Famers, we're talking about guys like Aaron Donald and all of that. It's a conversation. He's the other one in that conversation. I'm not trying to slight him. But when you look at like all time where you stack against other people at your same position, Harrison Butker is better than other kickers, more so than I think Chris Jones has been from an all-time type perspective against like in his space. So Matt Reeves saying Dustin Colquitt should be a Hall of Famer. Just saying. We've got some fun news. I like Colquitt. We've got some. We'll save that for another time. BJ, I have this from Chris. I have a fear for our tackles in the long run, rather our receiving issues.
How long is the long run?
It's coming off Jawan Taylor's best performance. So yes, in theory, yes. Although as Patrick Mahomes gets older and less mobile and moving around, it's going to be a thing. But last year, the two tackles gave up more pressures than any other pair of tackles in the NFL. And yet he was still a bottom 5 most sacked quarterback in the league because Patrick Mahomes knows how to feel and maneuver around pressure. Still think it's one of the most bonkers stats that we've talked about that probably never got enough run, was that he was a top 5 or most pressured quarterback and yet it's bottom 5 in sacks because they could get to him, but they couldn't get him down. They got him off his spot. They got him running around. We all have seen it where he just kind of runs around in circles and gets away from everybody. It's going to be very frustrating for defenses.
There's one about Dolphins or Bills. Who you would want to win.
Oh, yeah. Paul DeSantis saying Dolphins and Bills is the big one of the week. I think the Bills are going to win that game. I think we'll end up playing the Dolphins in the playoffs. I think the Bills are on a great run.
How do you feel about playing the Dolphins right off that early? We barely briefly.
I don't mind it.
Okay.
They're very good. You're going to play a good team.
Yeah.
And the defense without Bradley Chubb, I don't root for injuries, but without Bradley Chubb, it's a different defense. And their offense is what it is, but I'm confident in our defense. And so they've got guys who can make plays. Jalen Waddle's not 100% as he's out, and we know what Tyreek can do. But I'd be more worried going up against somebody that's got a defense that can just absolutely like shut it down.
I think that's a great way of saying it.
And yeah, I mean, we've already faced them, which gives a little bit. And I've said last week that teams have been much better against the Chiefs the second time around. But I wouldn't mind facing the Dolphins, mainly because Bradley Chubb getting injured changes things a little bit for me. And Jawan Taylor having the best game of his season yesterday against the Bengals is good for me, especially knowing that Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard played in that game. So. And yes, I would rather play the Dolphins and the Bills. Stephen C., I'd rather play the Dolphins and the Bills 100%. When the Bills are playing and Josh Allen is playing well, Bills are a top 3 team.
Yeah, I don't like
not
that.
a team that you can go and not play well against, not a team you'd want to face in the wild card round. So yeah, Thomas Lester saying the Dolphins have now lost both of their starting defensive ends. That's tough. So we'll see how the Chiefs play it and how Andy Reid talks about what the Chiefs are going to do as far as resting starters, playing guys. On the offensive side, I think they need to play and get some more things figured out. Maybe get a couple of wrinkles in there set up for the playoffs. Maybe put some things on tape that they can counter and do the opposite of. We know Andy Reid loves to play those games. So we appreciate all of you for hanging out on New Year's Day or whenever you are listening to this. We would not be able to do what we do at KC Sports Network without all of your support. And yeah, shout out Mission
Someone I'm sorry.
as well. Yeah.
Someone just said, no one is afraid of those hairless beach mammals.
It's a great one. We usually
Don't talk
end it
about
there.
Craig like that. I love you, Craig. Please don't I was just joking.
All right, Haley, you can take it home.
All right, boys at home, we love you. And you guys at home, hope you're not hungover. Hope you have a great day. And we're talking after Chargers win about how the playoffs are going to shake out.
Yep, we'll have plenty of content here at KC Sports Network throughout the week. We'll see you next time.